Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of D-Ray's Garage where we have a project. This is a 996.2 2003 Porsche 911 Targa. Yes, having battery issues already. So, I want to tell you a little story about buying a Porsche 911 on Facebook Marketplace. Here's the listing. It was listed several weeks ago, and it was listed a couple of times, and I had my eye on it for just because I wanted my first 911, and I wanted Targa. Which I think Targa is a cool version of a 911, especially a vintage or quasi-vintage like this one. The description here doesn't give you a lot to go on. Here's a driving video to show that the thing runs, which was nice. Excuse me, the car's pictures are actually pretty decent here when you consider, that paint looks pretty good. It's shiny and clean. Didn't love the chromed wheels, but if I got the right price, it might work out for that. Excuse me. On the rear here, panels all look straight. Paint looks consistent, but it's black paint, so you can't always use that as a guide. Another angle similar. From the front, two solid headlights, even if they're shaped like an egg. That's often a difficult thing to get on these 20-year-old cars. This was the first kind of sign of trouble right here, where you can see one kind of filthy handbrake, two pretty compressed driver's seat, which I'll draw your attention over here to the 136,000 miles it had on it, so that might speak to it a little bit. This also here turned out to be a tear as well. The backs are in great shape. The bottoms, specifically on the driver's side, less so. Here's a close-up of the ugliness and the neglect. Look at all that pitting in the wheels. With chrome wheels, at least in Arizona, nobody really wants to touch them, so you'll figure out how I handled that later on. And here's a closer up the rear end with the Targa badging still on there. Roof line looks clear, all the glass looks good. Turns out these lights were a bit more nasty than they turned out to look in real life. And then here's a closer look inside. I'm trying to think. Yeah, just, black interior, black car. So that's the listing. Conversations I do have down the side here, but net, let's just say it was, if you're going to buy this kind of car, you really need to be thinking about PPI. And this gentleman was a little resistant to it, which was a little suspect. There was no record of an IMS change. And so without that record, there was no way I could buy this car without that PPI. And so let's go out and take a look over at the PPI. Okay, see ya.
What?
Nothing, get out of here. So after some persuasion, and basically not just a threat to walk away, me actually walking away and just not communicating for a week, the gentleman came back around to the idea that if he was gonna get action on this car, someone that was willing to take on the deferred maintenance, some of the risk, frankly, just the recognition that up close, this car doesn't look as good as it does in pictures, then he was gonna have to deal. And for me, it was absolutely a deal breaker, as much as it pained me to walk away. 23.5 was the list. We'll get to the final price once we get through the PPI here, which he wanted to pre-negotiate, which I thought was foolhardy, but doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, you don't always get to choose who you deal with, especially on Facebook. Dealers can be fun too, as I'm sure you're aware. And so I kind of played a little ball and started to move the number. But the obvious thing was, look, whatever the number is, this PPI really hinges a lot of things. Most likely that I'll walk away. I recognize all the regular stuff that's not looking great, that's age dated, and maybe neglected. I accept all of those things. But if this car's full of glitter, it's not going to happen. And so eventually he came around to that. It was really unkind to me in Marketplace Messenger, or rude basically. And then also unkind to Dan here over at Exotic Motorworks in Scottsdale, which if you're in Scottsdale and you have a Porsche and you need some help, he's your guy. He's just your guy. He's such a good guy. Anyway, the seller took it into Dan, gave him no time to do it, gave him a bunch of pressure, and was huffing and puffing the whole way. I showed up midstream. Dan pulled me out into the back and walked me through the car. And then we'll go through this in a second, but the net effect was there was no glitter in the oil, because he pulled the filter, checked that, it looked really clean. And the guy's like, oh, it looks like you got a really good deal. So I wish the transaction wouldn't have gone that way, but you know, again, we all have different points of view in the world. But let's see what actually came out of there and kind of talk you through it. So the real red lights were the brake fluid. The brake fluid shoot through a high percentage of water in there. Engine coolant and hoses. Let's see what was in there. So they found some just residue around the expansion tank here, and then they were concerned that there might be a crack, but there wasn't actually a crack. And I do know that the coolant lines were replaced fairly recently, the upper and the lowers. And so I just replaced this cap because he thought that might be a factor, and maybe it was bleeding out a little bit there. I don't think that was really the case. I think there was probably just, whenever the work was done, it wasn't done particularly cleanly. If we look at the brake fluid here, you can see it wasn't 1%, wasn't 2%, wasn't 3%, wasn't 4%. It was basically 50-50 water. It might as well have been coolant in the brake master cylinder. And when driving it, you could really tell. You really had to step on that pedal to brake, and it didn't feel that great. And the pads and the rotors were just fine, so it was definitely a fluid issue. Tires and wheels, we've talked about the wheels. They weren't really what came up here. The rears were basically out of any tread, which I knew going in, so that wasn't a huge challenge for me. Their perception was that the belt might need to be changed soon. I was told that belt was changed recently. Interestingly, when I picked up the new wheels, the guy who sold me the wheels gave me a spare that he had, so I have one on hand for if and when I decide to go around to that. Heating and air conditioning, I think his suggestion was it wasn't blowing super cold, so I've got a refresh kit. I'm going to take care of that. I might do it properly with both the high and low pressure lines, as opposed to just jamming it into the low pressure line, which I've done in the past, so watch out for that video. Fluid leaks, this is obviously the one that you've got to expect on these M96 engines. Mostly weeping, not dripping. And then what you'll find out from the oil analysis that we'll do a video on shortly is that it may be an oiling problem there, even what was going into it. So that was the fluids. On the lights and horn, he did call out here, there's a lot of cracking that even doesn't show up great in here, but these lenses were all pretty cracked up. This one I did just replace with one on eBay. Had none of the cracking, none of the fracturing in there, just a little chip in the red down here, and I thought that was a better way to go. It looks a lot better now. And as far as the transmission goes, again, just some gunking up, probably from the fluid overflowing from the transmission. So that's a consideration as well. Surprisingly to me, the clutch didn't come up. The clutch is wildly heavy. Again, no idea when that clutch was done, because we have no real service history. And 136,000 miles says it must have been done. Someone must have cracked that open at some point, but we just don't know at this point in time. But wipers, engine filter, axle, CV boot, shock suspension, steering, brakes, exhaust, fuel, cruise control, cabin air filter, all good stuff there. So if we go through the photos and videos, we can kind of pull those up and enlarge them. Again, just a really high amount of water in that fluid there. Am I doing it wrong? There's the expansion tank story, just a little bit easier to look at here. Here's the belt. It just doesn't look so bad to me, and I feel like having the history or reported it being done by the most recent owner who only had it for 12 months, was a California car, so there's not really a rust element to this vehicle. I feel like I trust that for the time being. On the wheel end, this is a better example of what was going on with the tread. So the tread here is just, it's basically gone. This is on the rears. Nice juicy rears on this car. But yeah, both sides were pretty much shot and oddly worn in the middle and not on the outside. So, you know, I've just done some suspension work that you'll see, and we'll get that in for alignment. Shocks and suspension, talk about pleasant surprises. Some relatively fresh Bilsteins in here. Definitely nice, high quality, no leaking, looking really clean suspension on all four corners, and all the springs were up to snuff. So I was happy to see that. Some of the boots and so on from the lower control arms and some of the arms down there, some of the bushings were not in great shape. So that has been dealt with. So this isn't actually a good example of that because this one isn't really ruined. It's dirty, but this isn't broken, but there were others that were. You can see here there's a lot of strange, like it's like hard dirt. I can't even tell you what that might be. Here's a better example of a smushed boot that his service life has been surpassed. In the fluid leak end of things, you can see, like I said, more so weeping than anything, and his impression was just let it ride. We're not even dripping onto the headers in many cases, so not a real big deal there. This could be valve cover, could also be coming out of the spark plug area, which is under here, not uncommon, but the spark plugs were just changed. And so if they just changed those and didn't change the little plastic barrels, if they saw leaking, that would be an oversight. Not that that can't happen, but that would be a little disappointing if that were the case. And then here's where the transmission's coming out here, and the cable from the shifter. So just some schmutz on there. Nothing that I think has given me a huge amount of pause. I'll see if these, yeah, so the cracks are showing up better when we pop up the image here. But this is the one that's really terrible. It's really fractured in here. Big old crack down there. Just didn't make it any further. It's at the end of life. Another thing that was interesting to me is we did an over-rev report on the motor, because obviously it's a nice thing to know. Unlike the more modern 996.2 and the 981 that I've had, which have 6 ranges where you can go over, this has only 2. And I'll have someone else that maybe better understands that write in the comments below what that all means. But the number of ignitions in range 1 was very low, and crazy low number in range 2 there. So just clearly well driven. 136,000 miles. Feels like it was running up and down the 405 on the west coast there. And so definitely nothing to worry about from the DME report. Here's some dingage. Turns out this is from the spring being busted up in here, and you'll see a small project on that very soon. This is just some paint damage on here. This cowl is completely shot and lifted. That's just something that I'm going to spend $200 on and take care of for sure. Here's the other side, even more shot and even more lifted. What's happened is the plastic under here has given way to the bolts, the flange bolts holding it down, and it's just lifted up. And so that means all the water is coming in right down the windshield, not stopping at the cowl or the gasket there, and going straight into that battery area and that front area where the cabin filter is, which is just not ideal. And in Arizona, it doesn't rain enough to be a real big issue, but something I want to take care of. Nice bullet hole, not even a Chicago car, and we have a bullet hole in the bottom here. I don't know if that's a bullet hole, probably ran into some kind of spike, but not really visible when you're driving around and from the top side. And there's that DME again. So that's that section. And that really completes it. So $300, we got the full PPI with all this reporting, really good guidance on what to do, really good look on the underside of the car, and figuring out what's next. So here it is. This is a $21,500 sale for 136,000 miler 996 Targa. What do you think? Would you buy it? This is probably the closest thing to a project car that we've put in the garage yet. But I wanted my first 911, and I didn't want to pay a lot of money for it. And this is what you get. This is what you get when you buy on Facebook too. You can see here we have some damage over there because I've yet to find a new replacement for this guy. We got some paint issues. We have a lot of paint issues, specifically on the spoiler. And if any of you know about this, this looks just odd We'll polish it, see what we get out of that. What's special about the Targa? It's this fella here, this beautiful little sunroof. But what's more important about a Targa to me is the practicality of a hatch. So this glass lid lifts up. Let's see, yeah, we do have the battery in, so we should be able to release it. There we go. So I did already do one project here because I couldn't lift this up because these stops were too low, and so the release wasn't getting it up high enough. So if you're having that issue, just back these out. These little knobby things here, they're in fact threaded almost. So it's rubber's threaded, and then you can move it up, and then it will cause the lid to lift a little bit higher so you can get your fingers in there. If you don't, this will happen. So watch this. Just give it a little push. That's a soft close. Very slick. But if the soft close, when you open it, doesn't get cleared, it'll just keep pulling it back down. And it pulls down your finger. Not a great time. We got some jacked up headlights. We got 136,000 miles. We got some ugly ass wheels, forgive my French. You might be able to see it actually in this light. The gas filler cover is bent to all get out, so probably need a replacement of one of those. The leather in here is kind of shot. Rips in the seats, etc., etc. We have some parasitic drain from the CD player. Yeah. But today, I'm gonna do the first thing you gotta do on a 996.2 that doesn't have record of IMS, and that is go ahead and get the oil change done. Now, I did do a PPI on this before I picked it up, and there was no glitter in the filter housing, but the oil was looking a little dirty. It looked like it was about 1,000 miles from being due, assuming the historical record that we had was even accurate. So we're gonna put some Amsoil in there. I'm gonna put some upper injector lube in with an X-gas tank of gas, and we'll get this sucker on the road, and we'll slowly go about bringing it up to speed. I think there's just some deferred maintenance issues here, some deferred maintenance items. We take a look back here at the motor. Not that you can see very much of it, but big airbox, alternator, motor sits back in there. We have coolant, which flagged on the report as maybe being an issue, might be leaking there. We have a new filler cap, which was just put in, or the filler tube, which is a real pain in the butt apparently. Probably a $30 piece, $500 of labor to get it back on the top of the motor. We've got some squishy brakes, very heavy clutch. You know, the motor sounds great, so hopefully it's not glittery in there. I'm going to send it off to the Amsoil partner lab. I can't remember what it is offhand. And we'll get the oil analysis. And the last time I did a video for you was this. If you watched that one, which was the Spyder first oil change, I got the oil analysis back, but I never did the video. So I think it'll be interesting to do a side-by-side with that. So that's what I'm going to do there. And yeah, as we kind of navigate through, we'll figure out the next steps of this car. There will be new wheels. I found some awesome Sport Techno turbo wheels from a guy down in South Tempe that's been through a few 996s. They're going to look pretty awesome. They will also be powder coated, so we'll see what you think of that color. And then because of this paint being such a disaster, there's a real chance that this is a candidate for a wrap. Wraps are really good on black cars because you don't have to worry about the indoor sills and whatnot. And I think instead of just pouring over and touching up paint, I'd rather just get after it with a wrap, and I think we can make it go well with the wheels that I've set up. And yeah, before you know it, we might just have a fun 911 to drive. Say we'll compare it to this younger, stealthier, fitter mid-engine fella and see where it all winds up. But yeah, we'll keep an eye out. Next up, oil change.